All right, we're going to walk through the Trig review worksheet here, and when we get these, you're going to end up with two different possibilities. Either the angle is going to land on an XY axis, or it's going to be in one of the quadrants. And so for number one, when we have 270 degrees, the first thing we're going to do is draw that out, and 270 does land right on an axis point. And so when that happens, probably the easiest thing to do is just use the unit circle. If you go one space down, you'd be at the coordinate 0, -1. The first number is the cosine of that angle. The second number is the sine. So the sine of 270 would be -1. That's probably the easiest way to do it. You can think about the graph of that too. A sine graph makes kind of like an S here, and so pi is there, 2 pi here, 270 is 3/2 pi, and it would be right down there at -1. Sometimes that's a little quicker, but this for sure works too, right? So anytime we land on an axis like that, we're gonna kind of use that strategy. For 5 pi over 6, we want to again think pi radians is the same as 180 degrees, so 180 divided by 6 is 30, 30 times 5 is 150. So 150 puts us right there with a reference angle of 30. Drop this down, and then what I want to do is start to label it. So the 30, 60, 90, 1 is across from the 30, 2 is the hypotenuse, square root of 3 is across from the 60. I went in a negative x direction, so this will be negative. Positive y direction, that stays positive. The hypotenuse is always positive. Now the last thing I'm going to do is look at my tangent. Tangent is opposite over adjacent, so opposite over adjacent puts me at 1 over negative square root of 3. I'll just throw the negative out here. All right? Don't have to rationalize it. Maybe you didn't pre-calculate. Here you don't. It's nice if you know how to do that, but rarely do you need to worry about that. All right? 11 pi over 4. Got a couple ways to do it. We can go 180 divided by 4 times 11 and work it out that way. But pi over 4, hopefully by now you would know that pi over 4 is 45 degrees. And we're going to do 11 of those. So in other words, I kind of think like 45 degrees here, here, here. I'm doing 11 of them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 would put me right there. That's one way to do it. Obviously, you can do the degree and flip around. That's up to you. So 45 is our reference angle. That makes this 1, 1, and square root of 2. Again, I went in a negative x direction, but a positive y direction. So now I use cosine. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So -1 over square root of 2. And there's my answer. Right. Same thing here. 480 is 360 plus 120. That gives me a 60 degree reference angle here. So 1, 2, square root of 3. I went in a negative x, but a positive y. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine, so instead of opposite over hypotenuse, this would be hypotenuse over opposite. Hypotenuse over opposite gives us 2 over square root of 3. Negative 135, because we went negative, we have to drop down instead of going over. And that puts us right there, 45 degree reference angle, 1, 1, square root of 2. All right, we did go in a negative x direction and a negative y direction. So we're going to put a negative in there. Cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent, so instead of opposite over adjacent, this would be adjacent over opposite. Adjacent over opposite, -1 over -1 would give us just +1 there. Cosine 3 pi. 1 pi is 180, so 3 of those would put us right back here. Again, we could do that in degree form, but I'm on the axis, so I'm going to go one space that direction. That would put me at the point -1, 0. There's my cosine, there's my sine. I want cosine, so -1 would be my answer. And the truth is that when we do this in calc, it's more like 30, 60, 45, and the axis points. Those are the ones they're mostly interested in. If you can do these other ones, then great, but most of the time we just want to be able to quickly do the 30, 60, and the 45. So 210 puts us right here. It gives us a 30 degree reference angle, so 1, 2, square root of 3. We did go in the negative, we did go in the negative. Tangent is opposite over adjacent, so -1 over negative square root of 3. Negative divided by negative turns positive. There's our answer. 11 pi over 6, if I do 180 divided by 6, that's 30. 30 times 11 is 330. 330 puts me right here. Gives me a 30-degree reference angle. So 1, 2, square root of 3. I went in a positive x, negative y, so that's going to be negative there. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine. So instead of adjacent over hypotenuse, we're going to do hypotenuse over adjacent. 2 over square root of 3. Negative 7 pi over 2. Again, we're going to go in a negative direction. Every pi over 2 is 90 degrees, and we're going to do 7 of them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 puts me right there. Again, you're free to do it in terms of degrees, but that's probably a little bit quicker. Sine is the second one, so it's just 1. So if you get good at this and kind of quick at this, then this is pretty simple. You can get these answers every time without too much trouble. Cosine 0, we didn't go anywhere. We're right there on the axis. So again, if I go one space over, I'm at the point 1, 0. Cosine, sine. So 1 is my cosine. Or just like the sine graph, you know, it makes that S. Cosine kind of makes a C shape. And at 0, right away, we're up at the peak at 1. So sometimes for quickness, I just do the graph of it, but you're welcome to do whatever. 3 pi over 4 puts us at 135 degrees, so it's a 45-degree reference angle. 1, 1, square root of 2. We went in the negative x, but the positive y. Cotangent, reciprocal, tangent. So instead of opposite over adjacent, this would be adjacent over opposite. Negative 1 over 1, which gives us negative 1. And then negative 900 is negative 360, and another one negative 720, and then another one which puts us right there. If we go one space over, we're at negative 1, 0. This is cosine, this is sine, and so the sine of that would be 0. Okay. So that's page 1. Next we'll do page 2.